Today I'm going to be talking about the fall of James Allsup. For those of you who don't know who he is, who he was anyway, James Allsup was a rather popular YouTuber who was on YouTube primarily between like 2016 and maybe 2018. He probably had about 800,000 subscribers, and he was very popular during like the anti-SJW era of YouTube. And he was popular because he made a lot of his content, like, exposing, like, you know what I mean, like SJW exposed, and he made content like about Black Lives Matter and all that stuff. But what we found was he is a case study of what happens when you fall deep down to a rabbit hole. Really, he could have had a very, very comfortable career in mainstream conservative media, or even semi-mainstream, like Nick Fuentes wound up doing conservative media. But instead, he went down this strange rabbit hole where he started adopting all these obscure ideologies, and I think that's really where everything went wrong. He became extremely ideological. I remember during the latter part of 2020, he was full blown third positionist, aka neo-Nazi. Or at least, if I'm being charitable here, I'm trying to be as charitable as possible. He was neo-Nazi adjacent. He hung out with actual neo-Nazis, obvious feds, and at that point, he was probably compromised, or at least he was around people who were compromised. And it's really kind of unfortunate to see, because, like I said, although he wasn't the most intellectual person, he's probably around maybe 115, 120 IQ. No more than 120. It's he was no more than 120, I think. But he was rather entertaining, he was rather popular, and he threw everything away because he got stuck down until he kept becoming more and more radical. And it's a case study of what happens when you spend so much time online and you dissociate yourself from the real world. And so what you perceive to be normal is skewed. His whole worldview, his whole perception of reality became skewed. And he thought his fringe beliefs represent the vast majority of people. Somehow he was going to form they were going to form this People's Workers Party or whatever, this pseudo white working class neo-Nazi party, which was never going to happen, built on people like Evola and Schmidt and all these other folks. It was never going to happen. It was obviously a honey trap. They were either it was a honey trap, or all of them were simply completely dissociated from reality. There was no way in hell they were going to take on national politics, let alone conservative media. At least Nick Fuentes is able to take on conservative media. There was no way in hell James Allsup was going to be able to take out national politics, let alone conservative media. Like I said, it's pretty unfortunate because James, he had a lot of stuff going for him. He was a recent college graduate. He had a lot going for him. He had his whole life ahead of him. And he sort of threw it all away because of ideology. He got sucked up, bogged down by all this obscure, word salad. And last I checked, I think he's an accountant now. Lives this obscure life, trying to get his life back on track. But Let's be honest, there's no way in hell he's going to be able to escape his past. Which is rather unfortunate. This is like the price you pay. Not only when you put your face out there, but when you allow yourself to go deeper and deeper down into a rabbit hole.